Sawadee ka, guys! I'm in Thailand. Yeah, I made it. I'm here. Whoa! Check out this private beach that I'm on. Isn't it fantastic? My Muay Thai gym's just right over there. Yeah, that's where I'll be staying for the next 6 weeks. Yeah, I know it's been a little bit stressful. You know, it's been a little bit chaotic. You know, it's given me a lot of anxiety, all this traveling. So that made me think about all the years I've traveled and how different it is now to how it was back then. Yeah, especially when I was with the MC and when I was with a gang. That was stressful times, I'll tell you, and I'm going to tell you about it today. I have traveled for a lot of years, you know, pretty much 20 odd years of my life I've spent traveling around the world. Yeah. I love to travel. I love everything about it. You know, I almost love it as much as I love coffee. And hey, thanks to everyone who's bought me coffees, you know, it's definitely keeping me going over here. Those and fruit smoothies. And if you want to buy me either, there's a link down below. You can buy me a coffee or a smoothie. I much appreciate it. So travel. We all like to travel. Some of us do, some of us don't. And those who have traveled and those who love it know how stressful it can be, especially if you're traveling internationally. And you got your passports, your visas, you know, you got to make sure you pack everything, you know, you got to have everything booked, yada, yada, yada. It's a big process. And then the real scary part is actually going to that country, going through the security checkpoints, going through TSA or whatever, then going to customs. Are they going to stamp you, or are they going to go, excuse me, sir, come over this way? And they're going to take you to a room and grill you for hours and then go, nah, we don't want you in our country. Bye, get out. How do I know that? Because this already happened to me a couple of times. I've been deported from the United States once, and I have been denied entry into the United States. Yeah. None of that was as stressful as it was when I traveled with the gang, mostly. I mean, I traveled with the MC. I traveled domestically, mostly with those guys. You know, we ended up taking road trips a lot of the time, but we did fly to a lot of gigs and nationals and all that kind of stuff. But I did fly internationally in 2002 with one of the members and his brother, and we're all meeting up with members of the Australian chapters in Germany for the World Run. At that time, I was just a supporter. I was just a hang-around, so, you know, didn't really worry me. I didn't have a criminal conviction. You know, my life at that stage, so I was like, hey, cool, I'm good to go. And it was a great trip. We didn't have any problems. I know a couple of the members did actually get grilled at the airport when they arrived in Germany. I mean, the authorities know what's going on. You know, you have a world run in Germany, they know who's coming in, and, you know, they'll talk to people just to make sure they're not doing anything dodgy, because apparently we're known for that. Traveled there, had a great time, partied, you know, it was a fantastic trip. Can't really say anything bad about it, you know, it wasn't stressful at all that time. And then again in 2006, I traveled back to Europe. I actually went with my wife. I was an invited guest of the club in Berlin. They invited me to come and stay and hang out for a couple of days, and I did, it was great. So traveling at that time wasn't a problem, it wasn't stressful, yada, yada, yada. It was great, you know. So many years later, as I said, I got away from the MC and I ended up becoming patched with the skinhead gang. That was stressful. Traveling as a full patch member or even as a supporter of that kind of scene or group or gang or whatever, yeah, that's when they're going to go, we're going to profile you even. We don't even need to know who you are. You look like someone we need to talk to about whether we want to let you in our country or not. Yeah, and that happens a lot. Now, the first time I traveled internationally with the gang, I went to America. Now, this was my first trip back after being deported in 1999. And I went back in 2011, so it had been almost 12 years after I got deported going back, which was stressful as it was, because I had to go to the US consulate, I had to apply for visas, I had to get everything approved, and I got approved. They said to me, you know, you're probably going to have interviews when you arrive because, hey, this happened. Cool, no problem. A bit of extra stress, you know. And I did. 8-hour interview, 8 hours I was there, and they eventually let me in, which I was surprised about. And that trip was the worst trip I've ever had in my life. It was terrible. You know, I was there for 2 weeks. Everything that could go wrong went wrong. And I traveled up to North Carolina and stayed for a weekend with some club brothers and partied with them. And I tell you what, it was the worst experience I've had in many, many years. In fact, I got food poisoning from it, and it was so bad that I ended up just booking a flight back to Australia. I got the heck out of there. When I returned to Australia, I got questioned big time. Australian Federal Police had started investigating me, so when I returned to Australia, they showed up on my door, you know, and that's when the investigation started really ramping up, and I was getting calls and phone calls all the time. So I knew it was going to affect my travel. I was already on my way out of the club. You know, I'd already decided, you know, that I wanted to just quit that life and just get out of it for so many reasons. When I did, I packed up and I left. I went back to America. I was like, I'm done, I'm out of here. I thought, oh great, this is going to be really interesting, because I was under investigation from AFP and ASIO. Now ASIO, if they investigate you, you are going to have a flag against your name. Absolutely. And also, about 6 months after I quit, one of the guys who I partied with in North Carolina committed an absolutely atrocious, horrible act of violence. And I'm not even going to talk about it. But at that point, the gang was put on the FBI domestic terrorist watch list. They wanted to classify them as domestic terrorists. So when I traveled, I knew that. I knew that in the back of my mind that that was going on. Now, I wasn't a member when this happened, but I'd had contact with them, and it was fucking stressful having to go through customs and immigration and all that, knowing all of this, you know, and having to explain it. Thankfully, it didn't come up. You know, I did have another 4-hour interview, but they just turned around and said, see you later, have fun. Okay, great. Now, over the next few years, I traveled backwards and forwards to America and Australia, as I said, about 8.5 years. And it got easier every time. It really did. You know, no longer had this burden of like, what if they pull me up? What if they say, no, you're a part of this, we ain't letting you in? I've just spent 20 hours on a plane and thousands of dollars and uprooted myself, you know, and not to mention I have to turn around and go back. And once you've been refused entry into a country, they'll blacklist you. They'll generally ban you. Now, the last time I was in America, I left and came back. I did a border run, which they don't like you doing anymore. Now, I was flagged as soon as I entered, so my passport wasn't even stamped. Yeah, I went through and they just nabbed me. They also did actually talk about my gang. One of them had seen one of my tattoos. That also investigated me online. And yeah, so all that was brought up. Thankfully, none of that was in relation to them refusing me entry. I had the wrong visa for entry into the United States at that time. So they refused me entry. No charges were laid, but I did have a 5-year ban, which is actually over now, but I'm in no rush to go back to America. I'm gonna stay here in Thailand and Southeast Asia for a little bit, you know. It's a little bit easier traveling here, especially coming into Thailand. Like, Thailand is a place that will black flag you. They will absolutely black flag you because a lot of criminals and a lot of ex-gang members do come here. A lot of current gang members come here as well. You know, it's well known you can just cross over via the land borders. It's easy. This last trip coming in, you know, they hand me my passport with a big smile and see you later. That's the best feeling. Oh, I'll tell you what, it's without that stress of, you know, am I gonna get in? Travel is just so enjoyable. Sure, it's stressful, you know, like, don't get me wrong, I stress about everything when I travel because I've been doing it for so long. Just want to make sure everything's right. Like I said, I love to travel and I love to visit different places and I love to share it with all of you. So now I get to have all these amazing backdrops, and it's because of the simple fact that the choices I made in my life, leaving the gang, not getting further involved and not getting involved in criminal activities while I was with them, has meant that I can now travel anywhere well, pretty much anywhere in the world. Not have that fear of being kicked out or being arrested or, you know, going to a country where that gang, because there are countries now that have banned that gang. So if I was a member, I wouldn't be able to travel to those countries anymore. There's no way. Absolutely grateful for where I'm at now and to have that freedom, absolute freedom to just go wherever I want to go. You know, I never had that in all those years when I was patched. I had no freedom. You know, a lot of the time you have to ask for permission to even go anywhere, or, you know, make sure nothing else is going on. You know, it's not a life. So yeah, if you're ever thinking about, oh man, I want to get in a gang, it's a good life, I want to travel, see the world, those two things may not necessarily go together. Anyway, I'm going to head off. I'm going to travel off back that way because it's getting really hot out. It's like 35 degrees out today, and I am scorching standing here in a black t-shirt. Oh, and hey, if you're interested, these t-shirts and everything else are available on my Redbubble store, yeah. And I'll be adding some new merch to the YouTube store soon. I'll get there. I know you guys are like, yeah, you'll get there eventually. But also, just wanted to say a huge thanks to everyone who's been so supportive of me the last couple of weeks while all this chaos has been happening. I much appreciate all your support and your comments, as always. Like, much love. And I will be seeing you on the channel on Thursday. Going to go back to the Thursday, Sunday schedule because I've got a lot of content I'm going to be making for you. And yeah, get to see all this. Yeah. As always, if you want to really support the channel, feel free to give us a big like, subscribe down below and hit that little bell to get notified, and you'll be seeing new videos coming out every week, Thursdays and Sundays at 7 p.m. New Zealand time. Yeah, because I'm still on that NZ time. Peace out, y'all. Have a great day, everyone.